If somebody told you that rebar can't make a sword, you've been lied to. This is a double-edged broadsword that I created out of some rebar. Rebar, you may have heard, can't make a blade, and I've made several good swords out of rebar, several good tools, weapons, medieval-style weapons from rebar. The trick is getting the right piece of rebar and knowing how to heat treat that specific piece. Now, this may look a bit thick and broad to be made of rebar, and I'll explain that to you here in just a moment. So as you can see, here's our handle, and this is actually the two ends of the one piece of rebar. What I did is I folded it in half, like I did on the last rebar sword. I did a similar thing for the handle, except I did a loop knot up here, and the guards were smaller on that sword. I left the guard open and hollow to match that hilt design of a hollow pommel hollow guard. And what I did is I bent the rebar in half like I did on the other sword, except this has been welded together into one blade. So this half is one side of the bar and this half is the other side of the rebar. I then went ahead and did some ornate chisel work to kind of represent a wheat stalk. And if you've heard the phrase separating the wheat from the chaff, that's what this sword is all about. This is the chaff render, I guess, if you want to call it that. But it is a functional double-edged sword made entirely from one stick of rebar and a lot of welding and a lot of cleanup work. I'm not doing a build video on this. This was more of an experiment piece, proof of concept to myself, and ended up turning out so well that it is going to go on the Etsy store just because it was a very successful project. So let's go ahead and get it tested. I wanted to let you guys know I've been doing some research on how my camera works, and I found out I have a better slow-mo cam on this phone than I thought I did. Because if you didn't know, I record every video on this channel on my cell phone. I edit everything myself. I make everything myself. This is a completely one-person operation. So I hope you guys have noticed over the past few months the quality of the videos improving, because I'm striving very hard to try and bring you guys better quality videos. You know, better capture rates, better film quality, better focus, better lighting, all that stuff. And it's actually really hard to get good lighting with, you know, blacksmithing and bladesmithing, because the material itself produces so much light when it's hot. It's hard to get you guys to be able to see the material that well, even with the camera I have on this phone. Yeah, I'm not doing a build video on this one because, like I said, it was going to be kind of a concept piece, but it is a pretty cool looking sword. I have gone ahead and sharpened it up for testing, so let's take a few swings with it and see how it does. So what we have here is a full bottle of tonic water that hasn't been opened. Nice carbonated tonic water. Let's see what it does. Well, that was interesting. Looks like I cut most of the way through it and pulled my cut, but the bottle just detonated on contact. Start out like we always do with one simple little bottle, one simple little cut. That did nicely. Hit the one, can we get the three? Well, here's two of them and the other one's right there. You guys know what's about to happen. 10 bottle chop, right? Old habits die hard. Did a rising cut again. Unfortunately, this time I don't have 3 milk jugs, I just have the 2, so. See if I can get some rings on this. Alright, so we've got got 10 more bottles. Let's see what happens. Looks like this time we were on a downward trajectory. We got all but the last one. We kind of nicked it right there at the bottom. So let's just finish the job on that guy. And as you can see, everything put to the edge of the sword was obliterated. As per usual, give you guys a little show of all the yummy stuff it ate today. So like I said at the beginning of the video, rebar can make a decent sword. It'll cut well. It's a very hefty beast. This is a very forward heavy monster, a bit heavy for a one-handed sword, more of a two-hand, hand and a half kind of sword by weight, but it is a very broad, pretty thick blade. So that's to be expected. I think one reason that a lot of people say rebar can't be used to make blades is because they have a modern day idea of steel. You see, back when these blades, not this handle construction, but back when medieval style swords were being made, the steel they had was more comparable, even their high carbon steel was more comparable to some milder carbon steels, like what you find in higher carbon bits of rebar. They didn't have the best or most efficient steel for making a sword, let's say. Nowadays we've been spoiled by all these really high quality specific utility steels like nitro cut steels and very, very solid spring steels. They didn't have these varieties of steel. They had spring steels, but they were nothing like modern spring steel. So their blades were more prone to bending and snapping and all kinds of stuff on the battlefield compared to even rebar today. Rebar is a decent amalgam for kind of the troubleshooting or the crapshoot of the metal they had back in the medieval period. So it's not inaccurate to make these weapons out of rebar as long as the rebar does actually harden. And it's not as hard as people seem to think to harden rebar. Maybe they haven't tried a brine quench, maybe they haven't tried a water quench with rebar, but you can get decent results if you know what you're doing. Like I said at the beginning of the video, this will be going up on the Etsy store for purchase. So if you want to get your hands on this, go ahead and hop over to the Etsy store and see if it's still available, if it hasn't been sold already. But that does it for today's video. If you guys like what you've seen, do me a favor, do that thing right there. Helps the channel grow, helps me reach more people so I can show more of these utilities off. Yeah, like, subscribe, all that jazz really does help me. It helps me reach more people with my builds, so that way I can keep going and keep selling these on my Etsy store and people can keep getting these quality products that I have on offer. At the time of filming this video, I'm at 1,780 something subs. That's absolutely awesome. We're fast approaching 2,000. By the time this video goes up, because it's going to be scheduled out in several months, we'll probably be past 2,000. So I just wanted to thank you guys in advance for all the support, all the love, all the comments, and even the haters out there. It's like that old saying goes, if you watch everything I do, but you don't like me, you're still a fan.